Welcome back to Not So Small Talk. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey
Hey,
everybody.
Destiny.
Hey schools. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Officially kicking off, I guess, our second episode here. Yay.
Kind of sad to be doing it over video instead of
I
in
know.
person, but
I know. But honestly, this feels a little bit more official in a weird way. But we're gonna make it work nonetheless because we appreciate you guys for joining us for episode one. I can't remember how many views did we get? 70 something, I think.
70 something. Yeah, maybe like 75 by now, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
And only two of those were us. So that's given a little something. Honestly, how are you feeling after episode one?
I feel like low-key I was expecting like 20. So,
Me too.
so that was very fun, and we hope that you guys enjoyed it half as much as we did recording it and are excited for what's next.
Exactly. Before we move on, I saw something that said like social media has displaced our understanding of numbers. And
Hmm.
like if you were in a room speaking in front of 100 people, you might be a little nervous.
Yeah.
So that when we get likes that are like 100 people, you're like, oh gosh, there's 100. Getting
That's
what that
so
actually
true.
feels like. So
Yeah.
I just picture us like in a room doing just a talk show in front of 70 people. It's like, why are you here to listen? So shout out to you, 70. You're the
Yes.
beginning. So we
Yes.
appreciate the support.
I feel like actually had a lot of good conversation with friends that have listened and like just friendship. I got a few texts like, "You're a low maintenance friend." I was like, "Stop." Thanks for
I have to
listening.
remind you.
But no, it's fun getting to connect with some people and just talking about our friendships and how they mean so much to each other. So that was really fun. I'm glad that that sparked good combos. Otherwise, work has been good. And Ella, my daughter, is in such a fun stage right now. Like she's about to take her first steps, I feel like. So that's super fun.
She really
And
is.
Destiny is coming to visit. She's coming to Denver in a few weeks. So I'm pumped. Pumped
For
for
Ella's
that.
first birthday,
For her
which I
birthday.
legitimately like, I actually can't believe that. And we're excited
Yeah.
to come in town soon. And hopefully you guys can get at least one in-person episode, maybe.
Yes.
We'll see
Yes,
if we
that's
can
the
squeeze it
goal.
in between our other girl bossing activities that we'll talk about on another episode. But
Okay.
anyway, we're happy to be back for episode two.
We're tackling a good topic today and the next. It's a big topic. It's important to us. We have a lot of feelings on it. Yeah, body image, how we struggle, what we're working on. So it's a three-part series. We're going to start with body image, just us two. And then for our next two episodes, we're going to bring some guests on, which we're super excited for, and
Mhm.
kind of talk about the fitness world and like our relationship with food and eating and viewing our body in healthy ways. So we're really excited. Some
Yeah.
heavy stuff, but hopefully bringing it to you with some fun, some ways to look at it in a positive way. What do
No,
you
I completely agree.
think?
The conversation is, I feel like, publicly overdue. I mean, of course, it's been had, in friend circles and between
Yeah,
friends and things like that. But I feel like this is one of the reasons why we started the podcast, not for this
yeah,
specific conversation, but for conversations like this that people just don't hear publicly.
yeah.
And maybe there are some women who don't have anybody to talk to
Hmm.
about this. And
Hmm.
so hopefully this reaches somebody, this helps somebody and helps us in
Yeah,
the same process. And I think that's like such a big thing for me, and I'm sure for you, it doing this podcast,
yeah.
literally just having these conversations out loud have changed my way of thinking about
Hmm.
certain things as well. So we're just gonna start with like, it's such a touchy subject.
Yeah.
It really is. And like, obviously we have a couple of different episodes coming up that get into more depth, and so I'm sure we'll say it again then. I'll just say now, we're not professionals. We're just talking about our experiences, our bodies, how we've adjusted through life as women. And so we're
Yeah,
just bringing you our perspectives on
yeah,
our lived experiences, and
yeah.
I guess we'll see where this takes
And
us.
they're not perfect, so don't expect.
No, exactly, exactly. So I guess I'll start by asking you, it's
Bring
hard
it.
already feeling. Okay. we introduced our age last episode, but I feel like our age is really important for this.
Mm.
Like, where are you currently with your body and like what you think about your body? And
Yeah.
let's just start there.
Yeah, this year, like, I mean, I just had a baby a year ago. So I'm, like we said, I'm 27. I have an almost 11-month-old, and I had hip surgery about 4 months ago. So I've had a kind of a lot going on
Yeah,
with my body.
that's to say the least. Yeah.
Um, but I feel like I finally started to turn a corner. People always talk about like 9 months in, 9 months out. That's how long it takes to bounce back. And I think it's different for every person. So I don't think we should put that on women. You just have so much you're juggling. So to try to bounce back and be where you were before, like you may never be like that before. Like I don't know if my body will ever be the same pre-baby. So I'm trying to lose that expectation for myself. And right now, I've finally turned a corner in PT from my hip. So I'm able to swim, bike, run, start to work out. So I'm finally just feeling like the old Julia a little bit. Like, wow, I can finally like do some things where my body feels good and my body feels like tired, but in a good way.
Yeah.
So that's the positive side. I feel like on the other side of things, I'm feeling a little behind.
That's
Uh,
real.
which is a constant struggle. And I've always had such a relationship with my thighs, and that's just a constant battle I've had in my life since like high school. I'm trying to realize like they literally get hike me up mountains and they
Literally.
carry my daughter, but man, some days I'm like, oof, I could do without a few of these pounds on here, but it's a work in progress of where I'd like to be, but I still struggle with that.
First of all, thank you for your honesty.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a conversation between us, but like we obviously know we're putting this out
I
publicly.
know I'm like, okay.
I know it feels a little like, oh, like saying this stuff for real out loud,
Yeah.
but that's the whole point of doing this. But
Yeah.
thank you still, nonetheless, for being honest. And that's real. Okay, so you shared a little bit about what you struggle with. I guess it's only right.
Is it your turn?
Okay, so I'm 25 now.
Just turned happy birthday.
Easy, thank you. I'm in, I guess, like a weird place. I don't even know. Why does it always feel like a weird place? Just like never in an actual stage. Maybe it's just like a place in between marriage and having kids. You're just kind of like here, like I guess maybe people call it like their professional stage, but that's kind of where I am. Like I'm just working and chilling. I would say going to college, getting married, kind of were right on top of each other. I guess law school was in between there, but I was still in that age. I was 22. So my fitness was kind of all the same at that point. At post marriage was like working, law firm life, barely
Yeah.
seeing the light of day, figuring out what working out means to me. And I'm sure I'll get into this episode too. It's hard to keep them separate. But me being someone who has worked in the fitness industry before, my husband being someone who works in the fitness industry, working out is a big deal to us. But we're also extremely body positive, and the fitness industry is super toxic. So just finding my place in
Yeah.
the middle of all of that is like what I'm trying to figure out right now. And also how to just live life without this crazy fitness routine. Where I'm at with my body is some days I'm like 10 out of 10, some days I'm like 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just in a weird spot.
It's crazy how it can go back and forth so easily. Like the next day, you're just like, ugh.
And I'm figuring it out. And honestly, I mean, I don't know what the outside world thinks about me, but I would only assume that people think that I like love my body. And because that has been said before. And this is a PSA that literally everybody struggles with their body. Yeah. Every single person. And just because you're fit or in shape to one person does not mean that to somebody else. So like, let's be honest about our insecurities. Because we all
because otherwise it just puts a really unrealistic expectation for everybody. Because yeah, I feel like everybody tells you this, like, oh, you want to be here, like you're here, but you want to get to somewhere else, but then you're still not happy. So there's something that we're always going to constantly struggle with. It doesn't have to be a big thing, maybe, but it's gonna probably be there. Like we were
That
talking about how if somebody's super skinny, they probably want a big butt, or if they have a big butt, maybe they want skinnier thighs. Like it's just you can't win. So,
that actually brings us to a really, really good point. Majority of the struggles, at least I'm gonna speak for myself. I don't know what everybody else's is, but the majority of it comes from societal standards, in my opinion. Like what's in at one point is not in at another point, and you kind of
mhm.
touched on that. So let's get into that a little bit deeper. Have you ever felt that push and pull? Like, talk about that
Mhm.
a little bit.
I feel like my body has stayed somewhat consistent in like the outline of it. It's just got maybe gotten bigger or been smaller. But I'm tall, like I've always been super tall, so figuring out how to deal with that. I almost feel like it's been dependent on where I live, like how I feel. Because
Mhm.
growing up in South Florida, like I felt like I had a little bit bigger butt. Like I was just muscular, a muscular fit, kind of really into sports. And I felt like very in there and like more appreciated for my body type, more celebrated.
Mm.
And then I always struggled like being insecure about like my thighs and stuff, but still I felt a little bit more like appreciated, if that makes sense.
No,
Just
it's
kind of the culture of what's in, what's beautiful there. And then I moved to Iowa and it's just very like Midwest, a little bit more conservative. And like a lot of people are very like skinny and fit, and I felt a little out of place. Like I felt like I could fit in because of my height, which was amazing because a lot of people are tall there. I was like, oh, I'm normal. I
Mhm.
fit in. But I always struggled, like especially playing volleyball in college. I was like, oh, my thighs are like bigger than everybody else's. Like, and probably nobody else was thinking that. I know we'll talk about this more. Like probably zero people were thinking like, oh, Julia's thighs are bigger than mine. Like it's just
Oh,
me
exactly.
dealing with that. And then being in Denver, I feel like there's a mix. But Denver's a very fit, active place. So sometimes I get a little insecure that I don't fit or meet the standard of beauty, maybe necessarily in Denver all the way. But yeah, it is interesting that based on where you live, you can feel the different society pressures and like want to fit into the norm of there. But it's also diversity is great. So
Hmm.
I think it's being celebrated more, but it is interesting on where you live. You can feel those different types of way.
Until you said that, I hadn't thought about that before.
Mm,
And now that I think about it, it is true. You think about the group of people you're around and like your
yeah,
environment.
that's true.
Um, but I never really thought about like the locality. But it is true. In
Mhm.
South Florida, everybody has a big butt and
Yeah,
big.
and everybody's so like so unique and so different.
Exactly. There's just so many people. It's such a melting pot. Like the only thing I can kind of compare this to is I guess living in Alabama.
Hmm.
Which when you think of Alabama, a lot of the stereotypes are true. I lived in Birmingham, but you do get some of the trickle down effects from the major college towns,
Mm,
Tuscaloosa and stuff like
yeah.
that. And you still get that kind of Southern small requirement. I don't know.
Yeah.
By the way, a lot of these conversations, people might be listening and be like, that's a little offensive. It's our perception.
It's our perception.
It's
Yeah.
our
No
perception.
hate. This is no
Like,
hate. It's just
seriously.
what we've taken away.
Exactly. So I kind of experienced that a little bit in Birmingham, but
Okay.
I also think that it is interesting that there sometimes can be like a racial difference in body
Hmm.
type requirements. Weirdly, people think it's just more okay or more normal for me to have a big butt and big thighs
Hmm.
because I'm black.
Hmm.
And so I feel like I've never gotten like slack for that, or I've never felt like, ooh, I don't love my butt. I don't, because I feel like more black girls just have it. So I think that's interesting too,
Hmm.
but calls into question who we're surrounding ourselves with
Yeah.
and how that might impact the view that we have
Mhm.
on ourselves.
I feel like you have a good outlook on this. The people you surround yourself with, it doesn't matter their body size or their shape. Like it matters who they are and their heart and what they are to you. We are so often so critical of ourselves. But what do you always say? You always say, nobody
Nobody's
cares.
looking at you. Nobody is looking at you in the nicest, most respectful way possible. No one cares what you look like. And I'm talking to myself too. Like,
Gotta remind myself all the time.
yeah. And I mean, I was literally thinking about this today when I was going to the gym because
Mm,
I have this set that I love. It's
Yeah.
zebra purple set, sports bra and shorts. Okay.
Mhm.
I obviously live in an area that's like all old people. Not that they're honestly, old people are the people who care the least. So I really shouldn't be concerned. But sometimes I'm like one of the only young people in there, and I already know they're looking at me.
Mhm.
Maybe not judgmental. Old people are nosy. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, all of that to say, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm debating. I'm like, I haven't worn this set in a long time. And I know it's because I think people are looking at me.
Yeah.
And then I had to remind myself, who do you think you are? That these people are coming to the gym to look at you. Girl, wear what you want to wear. So then I put it on and I went to the gym.
Yay, good job.
So yes, like we have a microscope on ourselves.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking at me.
And I feel like even if I do look at somebody, it's more to like be like, I love that set, or oh wait, they look so cute, or wow, you look so strong. Like it's,
Mhm.
I get people can be really negative, and I think the majority is they're not looking, they're more insecure about themselves than about you, or
Exactly.
they're there to like be like, oh wow, like you look great
Oh,
instead of
exactly. But we know that there are some times
yeah.
that there actually are negative things. So let's touch on that a little bit. What are some of the things that you think have like hurt your confidence? Maybe it is something someone said. And maybe not even trying to be in a mean way.
Yeah.
What are those canon moments for you that have
Yeah.
wired your brain chemistry?
I think one of the hardest things for me is my whole family, my mom, my dad, my brothers, they all run. I'm not a runner. I'm trying. I like to lift, I like to play volleyball, I like to hike, which I guess is endurance, but I am just not a runner. Like I never have been. I'm trying, but I never have been. And I feel like I just got some weird pressure. Probably put it on myself, but like little comments from other people or even like from family. Oh, like maybe you should run. And I'm like, why?
It's so true.
So I feel like that kind of hurt my self-confidence. And I probably put a lot of it on myself. Where people aren't trying to be like rude, but it's like maybe I don't look like them, and maybe I would if I ran, or like, is my body type so different from my family? Why is this not easy for me? And I feel like I've kind of struggled with that and some of the comments surrounding that. And when you're already in like a negative headspace about your body, like any little comment can like make you kind of spiral. So I feel like I've had that, but I'm trying to like reorganize those thoughts of like none of them were probably malicious towards me in any sort of way. It was just me like using it to further
Right.
like negative thoughts in my head.
That's so real. How do you feel like you've overcome, or you could still say work in progress?
I don't think it's always a work in progress, but I do think I'm trying to retell those stories in my head of like they weren't meant to bring me down. People say things that they don't mean. People comment on women's bodies all the time when they shouldn't. I've learned that even more. Like even telling someone like, "Oh, you look like you've lost weight," like that's not necessarily helpful.
No,
People make mistakes. People say comments they probably didn't mean in a mean way. Just trying to have grace on them and really have grace on myself and my body, especially with all the changes in the past year, and realize that I am beautiful and my husband thinks I'm beautiful. My friends think I'm beautiful.
your husband loves you, Jesus loves you,
Yes.
legitimately. What else?
Jesus loves my thighs even when I
Hashtag Jesus
hate
loves my thighs.
them.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, well, back to reality. Negative things we've experienced.
What about you? Your
Um,
turn in the hot seat.
I think that I'm honestly my own worst enemy because I don't know that I've had experiences of people commenting on my body in a negative way. Uh, I guess one thing I can think of is one time in high school, I went for like my annual checkup, and we've been going to our doctors literally since before I was born. Like that, I've had
Mhm.
the same pediatrician forever. And of course, at this point, I'd hit puberty. And
Yeah.
so I went in and they're like, wow, you look so different. Like those
Mhm.
jeans. I literally remember like the jeans I was wearing.
Yeah.
And they were cut. So I'm busting through them a little bit. Like, and so they're like, wow, your thighs, like you look so different from last year, which that's what puberty does. Like, come on now. And yeah, all of those things are facts, and none of those are explicitly harmful. But I remember thinking, like, dang, is it that visible? And
Yeah.
yeah, when you do go through puberty, it is that visible if people haven't seen you for like a year.
Mhm.
And so my brain now understands that, but and even now, it's still a little struggle. But back then I was like, dang, am I
Yeah.
really getting that big?
Yeah.
And now I look back at it and I'm like, seriously, I was still like a stick back then.
It's so funny.
So,
I look back.
right. Like, what a waste of time being mad about that. But long story short, I think that might be one more memory that I have of my body being talked about negatively. Other than that, like, I've definitely gotten comments that maybe some other girls might enjoy, but I
Mhm.
just don't like men, strangers, commenting on my body.
People are crazy. People just think that they can comment and it's just shut it down. Just stop.
Um,
One time I was walking into a Walgreens and I've accepted my height. I'm proud of being 6'1". I love it. Some man yelled at me from across the parking lot. You look like an Amazon woman. Are you 6'6"? And
Amazon, like
I'm
from the
like
Amazon.
from the Amazon. I was like, I don't even know what you mean, but like, why do you feel like you need to yell at me from across the parking lot?
Who even thinks to say that?
I don't
Like,
know.
who just has that in their back pocket? The next time I see a tall person, I'm gonna say they look like from the. This is why sometimes, and I always say this, sometimes it's okay to not talk. And I feel like not everyone knows that.
Mm.
You don't always have to say something. Sometimes nothing is okay.
I feel like I need to learn that sometimes.
Well, I'm talking to myself too, but like sometimes nothing is okay. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, basically people just need to learn how to zip it sometimes and appreciate people's bodies for where they're at and that we're always changing.
And so obviously there's a problem with people commenting on, other people's bodies. But it's just going to happen. It's a thing that we can't change. What are some things that you have to do to combat that?
Yeah, I feel like I touched on this a little earlier, just kind of reminding myself all that my body can do and all that it has done, like carried a child and birthed a child, and we love to hike. And I sometimes don't think I'm gonna make it up a mountain, but we do make it, I do make it up a mountain. And so all those different like realizing those are things to celebrate instead of constantly like tearing down the things I don't like has helped. And just having conversations about it. Honestly, it helps to realize like other people struggle too. It's not just me. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are two main things I think that have helped me.
No, I love that. I think that it's important for us to, number one, like we talked about before, remember like how much our body does every day. It
Mhm.
literally is a wonder. Our bodies are all wonders.
Mhm.
Like just thinking about literally how our body pumps blood
Hmm.
is even just getting small like that. This is how Jordan has influenced me. Just thinking about science and stuff like that. Your body has done so much. I can't even imagine birthing a child. You literally, your body's a miracle. It's,
It's pretty
it's so
crazy.
cool.
Yeah.
So, yes, number one, thinking about that. Number two, remembering, yes, in some ways, you are amazing. You are the sun. You are everything, right? Like we should treat ourselves that way. But also, we're not like working hard to decenter ourselves,
Mhm.
I think helps because, yes, no one is looking at you. But more importantly, when we move ourselves out of the center, then Christ can become the center.
Yeah.
And those are when I think I'm like mentally my strongest.
Mhm.
Those seasons when like Christ is the center of every single thing that I'm doing.
Just so easy to like spend so much time like tearing yourself down. And I'm like, that probably makes him so sad. Like
Oh, it's
we are
true.
literally made in his image, and I feel like the devil just uses these things against us, especially probably as women. I'm sure men deal with it too, but as like a foothold of like you're not worthy of his love. You don't look good in the body he created you to be in.
Yep.
And so it's like one time I was like, I have wasted so much time and energy when I could be like reading my Bible, praying, and just like thinking negative thoughts about myself. I'm like, wait, that's so sad. And it probably
It
makes Jesus so
is.
sad.
It really is. And in your case, I'm sure like you would never want Ella to think those things about herself.
Never. Yeah. I'm
Like
working really hard
never.
on myself so that she has a good example as well. And yeah,
Right. Trying to keep those things centered definitely has helped
yeah,
me. And then
for
surrounding
sure.
myself with good friends. I feel like when I'm in the presence of my OGs, like my friends, it doesn't matter what I look like.
Yeah.
Like my bachelorette party was literally the best time ever. I was still in the middle of a cut for the
Hmm.
wedding. I wasn't like where I wanted to be. But because of the people that I was around, it literally didn't matter. Not that it
Hmm.
should matter either way, but you guys made it not
Hmm.
matter for me because everyone was just themselves,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So centering yourself around the right people.
Yeah. And I want to feel that same way, like within like my relationship with my husband, because I feel like I have put a lot of pressure on him to make me feel good about myself. Where now looking back, I'm like, oh, that was probably a lot for him. Like I know he thinks I'm beautiful and I know he loves my body, but he doesn't have to be telling me like every minute to like make
No,
me feel okay. So I'm really working on that self-confidence because I feel like that'll just make things like just take the pressure off of him and myself. Like I
that
was
is,
like, whoa, you were carrying a lot of weight there for a little while.
oh, that's honestly, a lot of people needed to hear that. That right there was so real
Yeah.
because marriage, there's just going to be times where it's give and take.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's
one
true.
person's just gonna have to pour in a little bit more till that other person comes around and is like, sorry about that. I got my life together now. You don't got to do that so much. And that's so
And then there'll be something else, but
exactly that. And that's just his job sometimes to just pour into you. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? But I love that you're saying
gotta fill up myself too.
exactly. You're gonna do it internally. I
Yeah.
love that. So, Jordan and I have been together for almost 10 years. We started
Yeah.
dating when we were 16. It's funny because I look back on pictures of us then and I'm like, dang, I was like a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like I was still slim. I was hella lean. Like I was literally like a baby.
Hmm.
And as our relationship has progressed, so have my looks and so has my body. Like
Yeah.
I've changed so much. And shout out to Jordan because he's never put any pressure on me ever
Love
about
that.
my body.
We love Jordan.
But it's interesting because like I guess we started dating right after I went through puberty, maybe like 2 years after I went through puberty.
That's true. You don't really think about it like that. Yeah.
Right. But what I didn't expect was to go through another puberty. And I literally didn't know what this was until I learned like the actual name for it on
Mm.
TikTok. This is why they're trying to ban TikTok because we're learning
We're
what
learning
they
things they don't
don't
want us to know.
want us to know that we're going to go through a second puberty. I feel like around 23, 24, maybe, my body was just like different. Not only was I more like laggy and stuff,
Mm.
I felt like I just like aged quickly. Felt like 22 was still like college age body. 23, I immediately felt like, whoa,
Hmm.
something changed here. I also gained more weight, which other people might not think it's that much, but still, like I did gain weight. And I also found like cutting was way hard, like losing weight was way harder since then. And then I was like, is anyone else dealing with this or am I just like gaining weight and being lazy? Then I learned on TikTok that limit women literally go through a second puberty. Did you experience this? Like, did you know about this? I know you didn't learn about it because we went to the same high school. Oh, no, you didn't.
I feel like once I got married after college, and I feel like that's when I started birth control. We were eating a lot, but I was exercising. It was just slowly creeping on me. I feel like that it wasn't until like 2 years later, I'm like, whoa, I look different and I feel a lot bigger. Like, and that's going from being a college athlete to not eating a lot of calories to maintain that, to still eating a lot of calories, but not needing
Exactly.
to probably. So there was a lot of things. But yeah, I feel like you just like, I was more like cushioned.
I'm in that cushioned era right now.
But yeah, that's like literally there to like protect your body and I feel like to protect your uterus. And I like
Yes.
had no idea because you
Yeah.
can go like so easily from like, oh, a teenager having a flat stomach to like, oh, I'm a woman now.
Yeah, that's a strange feeling.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like don't go on my Instagram and go look now to see if I look different, people who are listening to this. Because I do, obviously, but like talking about your uterus is actually a really good point because I never had stomach fat. And every time I talk about my body, I keep giving a warning as if I have something to be sorry for because people might be like, you still don't have stomach fat. Okay. In comparison to me, I feel like I never had stomach fat. And now I have protection around my uterus that I never had before. And it doesn't matter how much I work out, like that's going to be there.
Yeah.
And I've tried to reframe it from like, I got a little extra something and change that to like, my body is now building me to the stage where like I could carry a baby.
Mhm.
And our bodies are so amazing to do that for us. I'm really glad you brought that up, like that stomach thing up, because I was not prepared for that. And like, how does that feel? Obviously, now you've carried a baby.
Mhm.
Some people say, like, no matter how fit you get, like your stomach, I guess, might never feels the same or never looks the same. Like,
Yeah, I feel like you see some people and they like have abs again, but how many hours in the gym are they spending? Like, it's just not realistic for everybody. Maybe it is, but I feel like, yeah, I just have like a little extra something right there. And sometimes I'm like, oh, do I look pregnant? Like if I'm wearing a dress to church or something, I'm like, do I look like I could be like a 3 or 4 months pregnant? Maybe, but it's just a part of who I am now. And I feel healthy. I feel like I'm working out, working hard. So it's just like, okay, that's just
and
where we're
that's
at right
the key.
now.
That's the key.
And I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be like 40 and be like, oh, my body never bounced back. Or, oh, I still have a little something from you, kid. You, Ella, you did this. I
Oh,
don't want to be like that. So
I
I
can't
feel
stand
like
that. I
I'll be
can't.
like, Ella, you gave me this.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
it's true. It's a little reminder of her. Like all of this to say, every time we move on to a next stage, we look back on our last one
Yeah.
and are like, dang, I wasted time being upset about my body. How many times are we going to do that in different stages until we
Until
learn?
we learn. Yeah.
Like, just love where you're at right now.
And you might not think it's perfect, but working to be content and to be thankful of what your body does too.
Right. Knowing that you're doing what works for you and what's best for you, fitness wise, can lead to contentment.
Feeling good in your body. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel good. I feel healthy. I'm exercising. I'm
Strong.
doing what I can.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit
Yeah.
more
We're
in
gonna
our
jump
next
into that.
episode. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think we've been trying to not get deep into fitness in
But
this.
it's a big part of both of our lives. So, and we have
Yeah.
different experiences. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Um,
Yeah, well, I just wanted to finish with
yeah.
like things that we appreciate and have seen each other do well. I feel like you across the board have been like so consistent, at least from the outside looking in. Maybe you don't feel like that. I'm sure you have times where you go like up and down, but just seeing the ways that you like prioritize your health, prioritize the ways that you enjoy working out, not like feeling the pressures from other people, I think has been really cool. And you just like are so naturally beautiful. Like no matter what size you are, like I feel like it just like works on you.
Oh, thank you.
And I feel like when I think of like someone strong, like I think of you. So I think no matter like how you feel, like just know like you are strong and you are capable of whatever this crazy life throws your way. And you've worked hard at that. So I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, you stole your last one was going to be my first one. So I don't want to say too much about fitness,
Yeah.
but when I think of like a primal athlete, I,
Amazon
le-
woman.
I legitimately think about you. I'm not even kidding. Like, and you may think, oh, that was old me, but and you said this earlier. You said like I feel like I'm getting back to old Julia. No, that's you. That's current Julia. That's future Julia.
Thank
Like, that's not just who you were then. And being in Denver last winter on that hike, that was cake for you. I'm literally huffing and puffing in the
You came from sea level.
if you think that I'm fit, I'm looking at you like you're a beast. Okay. So when I think about being strong, that you're who I think about. Also, the way that you carried yourself throughout pregnancy and after giving birth, and now in like, postpartum era gives me so much to look up to. Ella will be so proud, and she'll be able to say like, I have a mom that never once said anything about my weight, and I have a mom who never once said anything about her weight, and that's something to really pride yourself in. So like, you talked so positively about yourself and your pregnancy, and the first thing out of your mouth was always positivity, even though you may not have thought that.
Yeah.
It was. And that like changed my brain chemistry. You hear so many negative things about pregnancy and having a baby and da 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 da. And like, you've only talked positive things about yourself. And that has changed things for me.
Just
And
trying
like,
not to scare you away. Ella needs a
no,
friend.
literally, I was gonna say it's like changed some of the fearful things in
No,
my
that makes
mind.
sense. Yeah.
So I just appreciate you for always being open and honest and making sure that like I knew that, I'm not living in my head. There's these things are happening to you as well. And so I appreciate that about you.
Oh, that's very kind.
That was an
Yeah,
extension
it's
of episode 1, talking about
yeah,
relationship.
I know. We're just bringing it full circle.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for, I guess, part 1 of
Yeah.
body image. Yes, part 2
Yeah.
and 3 coming real soon. So we'll
Hmm.
see you guys then. And thank you everybody again just for the support from episode 1. It's
Yeah.
only up from here. All right. Thank you
See
guys.
everybody later.
Episode 3.